takes everything. And then once you open the magazine, you say, oh my God, oh my God, that's what I should have known. You know? But that was the blessed times of working for a magazine and not for a book yet. And in this magazine, which had 64 pages to fill up every week, you had prestigious drawers like Uderzo, like Giraud, like Gichet, like and then beginners. And Goscinny was keeping 6 pages. That's why the first tries everybody did was a 6-page story, which is very efficient. And all the beginners would meet and say, well, I'm planning a 250 pages story. Tell a story with the end, to write the end, fun, the end, on 6 pages. It's a good exercise, and you even can maybe sell it if it's, especially when it was the magazine doesn't exist anymore, but there are places, at least, you may print it. And the reaction is, when you look at your work, reduced and printed, you say, that's shit. Because if you start looking at your drawings, oh, that's beautiful, okay, you can stop. That's finished. You're dead. So it was a good try. And then, after 3,
you started to write your work, not just for people like Fred or something, but you would also propose.
At the beginning, because Christian was not in charge of that, he was working at the University of Bordeaux because his project was the university. And when I really realized, after working for a script, already written, drawn, not written, drawn, a script by Fred, that did all the drawings frame to frame. That was so boring. And because I wanted to bring ideas and it was all said.
There was no room. Yes.
No room for that. No room for 2. And so I said to Pierre, okay, we've got to work together. We've been working in America when I was at his home, sending stories to Giraud. So we started with one idea of doing one story of not even 46 pages for a book, because those books didn't exist at the time. We were working for the magazine, and it was stories of 30 pages, which give the base, and maybe dreaming of having a book, but that was not in the project.
You wrote Au revoir America about your experience in America in the early 60s. And why wasn't that a comic book? Why was it an illustrated?
Well, because Western Stories is the most popular, in every term of the name, style of stories. And it's very limited to the imagination of the creators, but I would not draw a science fiction Western story. Almost, we almost did that. But drawing in Pilar, there was Buckle, there was Blueberry, there was Gichet with another magazine with Jerry Spring, there was the American famous Red Rider, and hundreds of other guys who were doing more or less Western stories. Everybody was drawing. Every magazine had his Western stories. So we didn't know what we would do, but we knew what we would not do. And then we started saying, okay, no military, no cops, no nothing, no shit. I don't like, I don't want to draw military costumes and things like that, no weapons. I'm very much against. I had 2.5 of military service. Thank you. I gave too many. And, so we didn't know what we were doing. And then nobody was drawing science fiction stories. There have been a few in France, of course, Jean-Claude Forest with Barbarella. But Barbarella was very limited edition and very adult readers, only forbidden to kids because it was pornographic. It was even forbidden to be exhibited on the windows of the bookstores in Paris. The bookstores could sell the book, but they had to hid it. And when you look at Barbarella now, you say, that's not very bad. Raymond Polivet did Les Pionniers de l'Espérance, in the Vaillant magazine. But it was a science fiction, not into fantasy. It was more a section of space travelers going into a huge garden with the ants and all the vegetables, huge thing. It was a beautiful drawing. It was not. When we decided to go into science fiction, we started with the first page. Pierre Reed writes, Galaxy T, capital of the Empire of Earth, 23rd century, beautiful, clean, impeccable, quiet. Go. I had never done such a thing, you know. So I tried all that, and then 2 or 3 pages of that sort, I panicked. Really, said to Pierre, okay, we've got to do something. I can't go on like that. I need to practice first. So we decided to make a jump in time, into the Middle Ages, where they look very much like Joan and Claude. But it's influence.
From all the stories we draw, which one was the one that you enjoyed most doing?
De toutes les histoires que vous avez dessinées, quelle est celle qui vous a le plus plu?
Well, first, it's very difficult to say because I almost never reread my stories, especially when the book is published. I turn the pages to see if anything is wrong, and I close the page and say, fuck. It's only, for example, 25 years later that for the integrals, you know, in France we have those big books with 3 stories in each book, and I reread Métro Châtelet. And Métro Châtelet, to me, and then Krishna just told me last week that he also repeat that. And it's a damn good story, and it's damn good drawings, which is what we can do the best. But I would always speak of those which I don't like, and those because the choice, my choice, depends, of course, of the quality of my drawing. And for example, Empire of 1,000 Planets, which I find very clumsy, very poorly. So many people said, you know, I was 12 when I read that in the back of the car of my father going on vacation. Well, I can't have this emotion.
I wanted to have your opinion on something a bit different, which is like a few names of people drawing in bande dessinée and having.
I don't read bande
You
dessinée.
don't read, for instance, Alexis, Gottlieb?
Yes, I read it for
Yes, that's why I'm asking. It's another generation. Are these things that you inspired you somehow or never? And if not,
No,
these
because
guys,
we're producing at the same time. The influence is something that you are like, when you are young, you are like a sponge. You swallow ideas, styles, if you're 40 and you are inspired by somebody else, it doesn't smell good. I'm not saying that you should, close the windows, but let's get inspired by something else. And illustrators especially of the 19th century and 20th century, I have books of everything on ceramics, on sculptures, on architectures, and I never copy those books. I look at them, and I even have books on vegetables and flowers and crabs and seashells. And for example, the flying little spaceship from Alfred, I took a good look at the book on seashells. And I decided I wanted to do that very twisty shell inside there. It's not that complicated. But to have the reflection of, okay, that's important. Not the work of other people. If I start drawing is science fiction, but where's my science fiction? That's why we will never have continuators of Valerio to do the continuation of the story. We have, and there's other project coming, maybe, I hope so, with a totally not unknown, very well known, other artists with their own Valerian, like Manu Larsonnet has done his Valerian, which was, to me, a perfect object. And because that's the first thing is that they improvise. It's like a musician. If the musician plays exactly the same music, it's why is he doing exactly the same? So let's improvise.
Em relação às adaptações, controla aqui de Mézières sobre a adaptação da animação, a série de animação que foi utilizada, não tem nada a ver com a série. Não sei se deu algum critério, se foram eles que escolheram, decidiram os argumentos, se há alguma liberdade. E pontuada, como é que está a nova adaptação, potencial adaptação de Valerian, a comunicação, isto já está a dar esse projeto, como é que isso está?
What can I say? 40 episodes of 26 minutes, which have been produced, first written with a staff of guys we've met in Paris. And when we start reading the short story of 5 pages of what could be the story, you say, why not? And then the drawings have been made in Japan. And I don't know in which school for retarded children it was. Some episodes were fairly okay. I've seen a few. I've seen so few that the third or fourth, the one when the parents of Valerian arrived, he had a fit. He left. But no, it's impossible. I think it is as efficient that if you see the very fast train going passing by, and somebody says, well, I give you a whistle. If you see something wrong, whistle. that's about as efficient. It's because it's not like in the cinema. The budget doesn't allow you to retake this poor thing. Take just a section of them. So some sections are good and others are pathetic. And I didn't see half of those. Sometimes the feeling is there. They use the pictures and I sometimes recognize my characters. At times I'm not in fast. This is not the way my actors act, you know.
Já ficou com essa conclusão aí,
Well, maybe he will call me. Maybe he's calling me right now. I don't know. I have absolutely no contact with him since 3 or 4 years now. But he bought the rights. He bought the rights. He owns the rights of adapting them. But as nobody else dares to do such a thing in France or in Europe, you know, he takes his time. And he's got a very important movie coming out next October. The one he did with Robert De Niro, Tommy Lee Jones, and Michel Pfeiffer, which takes place in France. It's a thriller movie, but apparently can be very funny. I don't know, it's going to be lots of dead, but could be. And then last year he announced he would do a variant. It's not me who said that, it's them. Maybe I'm going to have 85 years old.
Em relação à sensibilidade, a geração do Mézières, mas qual é a sensação que está a ter em relação às outras estudantes do comando, as pessoas da Pilose, do Brasil, do Claude, do Conversa, do Móveis? Qual é a sensação que o legado deles vai ser continuado por quem vai haver uma
So, about your last comment, how do you feel this generation that is starting to disappear? Movies, Fred, Gomez.
What can I say? You should not get old, you should not die. I'm trying, I'm having even stronger.
But maybe do you feel the influence into the area that you have those people?
No. We were together in Mézières.
And the decision of people doing comics for a life, that is going after movies or going after...
No, that's not my problem. I started at the same time as others, so I have no...
You have seen much of women called Laura.
But that's something else. That's something else. There's in France, there's France and Belgium, there's, I don't know the exact number, but I've read information that there are at least 2,000 girls named Laureline. And the nice people, the other day on the radio, the French radio, France Inter, it was the game of 1,000 euros. You know, every day, you know, they have people contesting. And it was students, that was last Wednesday. And the guy was named Valérian, so alors Valérian, vous avez gagné, vous avez...
Who want to mix down?
Agora posso contar, eu está falando uma coisa que eu digo, que é, o Metro Chapelin acha que é o melhor álbum que provavelmente desenhar. Eu ando de fato desse livro, o Metro Chapelin e o álbum a seguir, eu começou a desenhar de maneira diferente, mas começou a usar só uma página, cada página. E em vez de serem meias páginas, começou a ser uma. Eu penso que isto influenciou a qualidade do detalhe do desenho. Foi propositado para ser mais rápido.
It started because I played with my drawing. Shit, I spent so much time working on the drawing, I can play with them, you know. And it started first in Heroes of the Equinox, when there's the race, and Valerian falls down in the cave, and it crawls at the bottom of the next page, you know. I thought that was my idea, and I thought it was funny. So we arranged things here, and otherwise, well, I had a slight problem of having my two main characters, Lorraine, way up on other planets, talking to Valerian, who was in the bed with the spy girl. How do you draw that? So I imagine that you have to have symbols, very simple symbols. And Lorraine was into round frames, and Valerian was into square frames. So you could understand immediately what was happening, and even because they were talking through some operation in the brain, yeah. I mean, deep about how they do that, they do that. But so that the reader, my work is to tell a story. And if you are a storyteller, your audience will leave very soon. You know? So you have to tell a good story and to tell it brilliantly. And I hope that my experiments in that sort of thing was successful, like, because everybody could read Mézières, hundreds of thousands of readers, and nobody complained about the changes of the pages. I'm not doing that. That's my book. There's no printed law, you know, and you should tell a story with, you know, with square frames.
Muito obrigado a todos. Muito obrigado, merci.
Partilha, subscreve e segue o canal no Facebook.